I tell you what, the Detroit River is a great place to go to do some spring fishing. It's actually a funnel for walleyes going between Lake St. Clair and Lake Erie, and so there can be a lot of really nice fish in the river. The problem is the river's a little bit fickle. It can get a lot of mud in it if there's a lot of wind. It can be a fast current. It can be hard to control the boat because of the wind that can come up and down the river. But I tell you what, I'm out with Chase Parsons, and we're going to be doing some vertical jigging for walleyes. We're going to be showing you the jig cadences. We're going to be showing you the jigs that we use. We're going to show you everything we do to get the next bite.
There can be no doubt that Kavajecz and Chase Parsons have a special place in their hearts for vertical jigging. And although a jigging setup doesn't appear to be very complicated when the components are compared visually to a spinner or a rigging setup, there are actually a great deal of factors that go into giving an angler the best advantage possible for success when jigging for walleyes. There is the sensitivity of your line to consider, jig head types, not just weights, minnow attractants, boat control in both wind and current, and even using 2 jigging rods at the same time. Mix into this chasing migrating walleyes in 32 miles of river in 2 different nations' channels, and suddenly it becomes quite clear that you have a technique that up front is simple by design, but very modular by nature. This can turn a jig into a jigsaw puzzle for some anglers, but for now, as with any technique, the first piece of the puzzle begins with where to look for the walleyes.
So what I want to do is give you a few hints on where to look for fish. The fish can be anywhere in this river. They're migrating fish, they're coming from Lake Erie or from Lake St. Clair. They're moving through, so they could be anywhere. What I like to do is find places where they're concentrated. First thing that I'm going to look for is actually fishable water. And what I mean by that is that if the wind blows really hard this time of year, Lake St. Clair can get all mudded up, and that mud will then come flowing down through this river. The good thing is that oftentimes it's only half of the river that gets muddy, either the Canadian side or the U.S. In this particular case, while we're here, the U.S. side is actually in very nice shape. Fairly clear water, you got about 2 feet visibility. It's great for jigging. So look for that clear water. Second thing that I look for is the areas that I want to fish. And what I typically want to find there is deeper water with some kind of channel or trough running through it. And then what I like to do is fish the edges of those troughs. So I'm not going to fish right down the very deepest part. I'm going to just fish along the edges. A lot of times walleyes in a river will use those edges almost like a runway. So that concentrates the fish. It'll keep you in fish more often. So look for the clean water, look for those deeper holes or troughs, fish the edges of them, and that's where you'll find some good Detroit River walleyes. Got one, Chase.
Okay.
Oh, I think he's a good one.
Oh, it looks like a good one.
Oh yeah, he's up here already. Come on. We're in such shallow water. Well, boy, you can see him a long way down there. I'm gonna get him up to you. Water's nice and clear. Nice, there we go.
Oh yeah, good fish.
Oh yeah. Pounded it.
Whacked her pretty hard.
Oh yeah. The green and glow. That sonar jig. Yeah. It's kind of that flat jig like that. It's good for in a river. He just pounded it though. That's a real indicative fish of what's coming in here. Hopefully, I think that's probably a little male. Well, it's a big male. You know, it's probably a 4-pound male, but hopefully the big sisters are there. Boom, down.
We're using Berkeley Fireline today. It's a fantastic choice of line for vertical jigging because there's no stretch, so you get a lot of feel with it. But the one thing that you need to focus on is tying the right knot to your jig with this line. Because it's a little bit thinner diameter, you gotta tie a little bit different knot. The knot that I use is called the improved clinch. And it's a pretty simple knot to tie. You simply go through the eye and notice that I'm tying directly to the jig. We don't use leaders in this situation. We feel that all that does is just put more knots in your setup, allowing for you to lose more jigs. So what I do is go through the eye, and then you're gonna hold the loop right close to the jig eye. Take the loose end, go around your line 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 7. Take a loose end, go through the loop that you were holding, and then back through the loop that you just made. Wet it, tighten it up, clip the tag end off, and you're ready to go. It's a really strong knot and works great with fire line.
So obviously we're vertical jigging out here. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that I do when I'm vertical jigging to give us real good boat control. First of all, I like to use the bow mount trolling motor. Obviously it's very quiet. Sometimes we're fishing fairly shallow, so you're fishing right below the boat. You want to stay as quiet as possible, and the electric motor is going to do that for you. But one of the things about an electric trolling motor that I like is that I can use a foot control. That frees up both of my hands, so obviously I can do things like two-rod jigging. That's a big advantage, because a lot of times you can put different colors of jigs or different baits on each rod, and then figure out which one the fish like better. One of the little things I will tell you about using a trolling motor that a lot of people don't think about, though, is when I'm vertical jigging, what I like to do is actually turn my trolling motor way up. For example, on this one here, I've got it set on number 8. It's an 82-pound thrust 24-volt engine, so I wouldn't need number 8. I mean, I can easily pull right into this wind very quickly, but that's exactly the reason that I do have it turned up. We do something called bursting when we're vertical jigging, and what that means is that if there's a gust of wind or the wind just pushes me back some, what I can do is overtake that wind and quickly pull myself back over my line to get myself vertical. By doing that, I spend a lot more time with my line straight up and down, and that's important for the person up on the bow to do that. Because if I'm vertical, that means everybody else in the boat is vertical. If I'm off vertical, everybody else is going to be way off. So boat control is really critical. Try out your trolling motor, try your electric trolling motor, try out bursting. I think you're going to find out that it's a lot easier to stay right on those fish.
Got one, Chase.
How's it feel?
Good. One of them 4 or 5 pounders.
All right. Well, I'll help you with it then.
Way under the boat.
Oh, yeah. Want me to help you with the bow mount? Make sure he doesn't get in there.
It's kind of blowing me back. I don't want to get the big bite, you know?
Yeah.
Man, he fought wild. There he is.
Nice fish.
Yep.
Nice fish.
There you go. I tell you what, we're right. If you look back behind us here, this is the mouth of Lake Erie. I mean, we're way down at the bottom. And what happens is these fish move up into the river, and we're kind of getting them as they come in. You can tell they're real fresh, they're real hard fish. Probably straight from the lake.
Well, yeah, this one hooked good.
That's a nice fish.
Yeah.
A nice one.
Nice fish.
Like I said, these fish are just coming out of Lake Erie. They come up into the Detroit River.
Nice
onto the jig.
Nice solid fish too.
It's a good one.
Fight to him, huh?
Oh, man, he got under the boat there, and I couldn't pull him out.
Nice. There we go.
Good fight. Yeah.
The real deal. Straight talk to make you a better fisherman. Brought to you by Bass Pro Shops.
So when you're fishing in snaggy situations, we're on the Detroit River here, so there's quite a few areas where there's a lot of snags. There's 3 ways that you can prevent the snags. One key thing with vertical jigging, no matter where you are, is having good boat control. Having good boat control, keeping your lines vertical, that's going to allow you to have less snags. Reason being is many times these situations there's irregular structure on the bottom, rocks where there's a lot of crevices and cracks, and that's where you're getting your jig stuck in. If you stay vertical, you're able to actually drop that jig in those crevices and lift it straight out, so you're not going to get snagged there. The second thing to do is actually using a little bit different cadence with your jigging technique. When we're talking about vertical jigging in any river, we really like to focus on that pause on the top of your lift. But when you're fishing in snaggy situations, what you want to do when you're dropping that jig to the bottom is only let that jig touch the bottom for a split second. Okay, so as soon as you feel that bottom contact, you're going to lift 3 to 6 inches again and hold. The third thing you want to do to prevent snags is use a certain jig style. A semi-stand-up or a stand-up jig is what to use. It's going to keep that hook up off the bottom, that entire presentation up off the bottom to reduce snags. Now inevitably, you're going to get snags. So you want to use a jig that has a good hook. The two style jigs that we're using are the Bass Pro XPS jig and FinTech Zonar knuckleball jigs today. The beauty of these two jigs is they have Mustad Ultra Point technology in the hooks. Ultra Point technology basically means that as these hooks are sharpened, there's more metal toward the tip. These hooks are still very, very sharp, but having more metal towards that tip makes them more durable. So we're getting snags, we're bringing these jigs up after getting the snags out, and seeing that these hooks, the tips aren't rolled over, they're still really sharp, and we're able to just keep fishing. You don't have to sharpen your hooks, you don't have to change out jigs. Very key, you're gonna get more time fishing, and you're gonna get better hook sets with sharper hooks.
Sight Bites. Answers to your questions from the Next Bite website. Brought to you by Purina.
This week's Purina Sight Bites question comes from a biter who is rigging a new boat for this upcoming season and wants to know what's out there for new trolling motors from Motor Guide that he can look at.
Actually, Mark, I've got one of the new trolling motors in my hands right now. This is the new Motor Guide Varimax. They just came out with it. In fact, I'm probably the first guy to ever use one. And this is quite the transom electric. This is how I started fishing, out of a 14-foot boat and a 25 horsepower outboard and a small transom electric. And this particular motor has really got all that I've ever seen in a trolling motor. The neat thing is how easy it is to control. Basically, if you want to go forward, you just pull the handle out. It's that simple. Go ahead and ratchet up the speed and the boat will go forward. If you want to go in reverse, you just push it back in and hit the reverse speed. And this trolling motor has a lot of power in reverse. We also have the capability of switching the head around if you want to just heavy-duty back troll with it. It has an indicator, a fully variable speed indicator on the top of the unit, so you can tell what speed you're in, and it's pinpoint. I mean, when I twist the handle, there's no 1 speed, 2 speed, 3 speed. It's an infinite variety of speeds, so we can get our bolt control to be pinpoint. The other neat thing is when I turn the motor off, the little LEDs on the top show me how much battery power I have left. The stow, the tilt, control, everything about this motor makes it so easy to fish. Like I said, I've used transom trolling motors pretty much throughout my life, and I've never really seen one that was quite this easy to use, and it's pretty economical. They're telling me on various models, some of them even start under $200. So yeah, Mark, there are some new things in trolling motors. The Varimax is one of the best.
Remember, on the Next Bite website, you'll not only get answers to your questions like that, but you can read some articles and tips, get involved in a great forum page, all information to help you get your next bite. Hey, you want your next bite? There you go.
Kavajecz and Chase Parsons continue to keep their vertical jigging operation on the move in their pursuit of finding active walleyes that are migrating throughout the Detroit River. A key development in their success has been an adjustment to their jigging cadence based on some revealing footage of the river's bottom captured by Keith's real-time underwater camera that is suspended beneath the boat.
Another nice one. And there's some nice fish in here. I got him right in the nose. Perfect. I tell you what, we were looking at the underwater camera because we had been marking fish on the depth finder, and I didn't know if they were fish or if they were rocks or what it was right on the bottom. And so we got out the underwater camera and we started just, as we were jigging along, we started watching it, and we see walleye swimming by. So we changed our cadence a little. Actually, Chase came up with it. What we started to do is, instead of just slowly dropping it, we started to quickly drop it, just kind of let this jig flutter down. And I think with this gulp on there, when that flutters down, it really gives it a lot of action. And what's happening is right before the jig hits the bottom, that's when these walleyes are picking it up. So just paying attention to things, a lot of times changing a little thing, produce big for you.
Although the post-spawn walleyes Keith Kavajecz and Chase Parsons have been targeting are flying mostly solo, playing hide and seek amongst the small rock boulders and sand of the Detroit River, doesn't mean that there hasn't been any schooling to speak of. With all of the informational aspects of this spring river walleye bite having been laid out on the table, the science is proven through the repeatability. And considering the number of walleyes in this river that have reluctantly found television stardom at the end of Keith and Chase's jigs, this scenario has been a textbook-worthy example of the combination of a great fishery and the power of using a technique such as vertical jigging to its full potential.
There.
It's a nice fish.
We're only 8-9 feet of water here, so very nice. That's a good-looking fish. Probably a female, because she's got the wider body like that, you know. I don't know. It's real soft, so maybe even a spawned out female already.
Yeah.
You know, the water temperature is about 52 degrees, so nice fish. It hit hard?
It hit hard, really hard, yeah.
What color jig did you have on?
Gold.
Zonar.
Gold Zonar knuckleball, yeah.
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 Cool. Very nice. Let's get it back in the water. Very nice. Moose. Boy, as fast as she went down, she better watch it. Bam, she'll hit the bottom.
Even with the sun beginning to set, it doesn't look like Keith or Chase are ready to stop fishing anytime soon. And who could blame them? After all, with the right weather, the right timing, and the right technique on your side, the next bite could, well, literally be just around the bend.
Get another one.
The balance of a salamander.
Coming out and doing a little spring fishing on the Detroit River.
Caught. I'd recommend not biting fire line like that. It's for all the kids.
Smalley. I'm a Smalley. I'm not a Wally.
3, 2.
I look good?
Yep.
The knot that I like to use with fire line. Let's do that again.
When planning your fishing trip to the Detroit River, the Next Bite would like to suggest the guiding services of Lance Valentine. Lance can be contacted at walleye101.com or 810-240-2317.